What is up, everybody? It's Michael here with Combat Sports Today, and I'm joined by the one and only Bryan Bam Bam Barberena. It's a pleasure to have you on here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you having me on. I know we kind of connected through X now, so yeah, it's been a minute, but I'm glad we're getting it done.
Yeah, 100%. I was excited to hear when you had hit us back. Very excited to have you on. And, how are things going as of late in Bam Bam's world? You got any updates, anything going on at the moment that you wanted to bring up?
I wish I had fight news or something like that, but I don't currently. I'm kind of reaching out to places, seeing to get a feel. After the last fight, after being released by the UFC and that being an end to it, I ended up having some surgeries, had to take care of myself, take care of my body. So that was kind of my focus at the moment. It wasn't really focused on, where am I going to fight next, what the deal is. It was more so getting healthy, getting these things taken care of, and then slowly getting back in shape, and then figuring out what's next. So I'm kind of to that point now. Been back into training for a minute. Um, I'm really looking for like August or late summer, August, pretty much late July, August. But um, talking with some people and trying to get connections to talk with people because I do manage myself, um, and so it's just finding those connections now and those you know getting the right calls to the right people. So it's been kind of talking with a couple managers to try to get some balls rolling, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm gonna be staying updated, so I hope everything goes smoothly. I also wanted to jump in with everything going, in life lately. How's the farming endeavor been going? I know that you had mentioned with Ariel a little while back you were looking to move to North Carolina. I was just wondering how any of that was going, or how the farm's going at the moment.
Yeah, so we did make the move to North Carolina, and we had pretty much sold quite a few of our animals and stuff. Didn't want to, we were at a time where it's kind of balancing it all and stuff. And it just made sense to kind of downsize our farm, our original farm, and then move to North Carolina. So we did bring some animals, but then um, ended up like rebuilding the farm back, and then we got a property that didn't have it wasn't a working farm or anything. It was just property with a house, some acreage. So it was, right away getting back to it, building fences, creating paddocks and pastures and things like that. So, and then once slowly doing that, adding animals back and building it back. So, it's been a process. It's definitely kind of I don't know. It sucks because in Tennessee, it sucks in a way, but I mean, I enjoy the process. But in Tennessee, where we were set up to kind of start, you know, basically running our own production and selling our own meat and everything. And then now the process has been put on hold, and they kind of have to rebuild it all back. So the process is fun and enjoying it, but it's a lot of work, and it's going to take some time to get back to where we were.
Well, I'm sure you'll get there. The business will be booming soon enough.
Yeah.
I know that your father had a farm in Colombia, which I've heard you describe as an inspiration to start farming. I was wondering if there was other ways that Colombian culture has inspired you in your life.
Yeah, so it was actually my grandpa's farm. He lived with us when we were kids, so he used to tell me stories about it, and yeah, that kind of really stuck with me, and I guess kind of drove the motivation to one of my own farms someday. Um, and yeah, just the Colombian culture, everybody. It's just that Hispanic culture, and Colombians are just like right in there. They say I believe that, and I've been told from my dad growing up, we have warrior blood, and growing up we're warriors, and we got to prove to ourselves that that's what we are, and can kind of hold that standard to ourselves of the Colombian culture. So um, it's been great, and I find motivation just from the fans and the people, the Colombian people, reaching out and showing love and showing support and really having my back through my fight career and everything else. So that's been really inspiring for me, and I take motivation out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. My dad is also Hispanic. He's from Puerto Rico, but
Okay, awesome.
I've always held my heritage very tight with me.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Yeah. And speaking of Colombia, they got some coffee out in Colombia. I
Yeah.
was on your website, BryanBarberena.com, and I see some of the merch, some cool stuff on there, and I saw the performance coffee. How did
Yeah.
that come about?
Yeah, so actually, that was a sponsor I was working with quite a while ago. I haven't updated my website in a minute, so most of the merch is like sold out or not available just because the sizes and everything, and pretty much gone. So hoping to, I just started doing Millions, so hopefully we'll have some merch out on there, so you can check me out on Millions. I haven't really officially like launched a video or anything on it, so but I plan on doing that soon, and they're going to be putting some merch up for people to grab. But so check me out on there. But as far as the coffee goes and stuff, I love coffee. I don't know if it's because I'm Colombian or what, but I've always loved coffee. And for me, doing a pre-workout for MMA, some of them don't really settle with my stomach, and it's kind of a lot going in. Just a cup of coffee always does me right. So when I saw these guys and partnered up with them, then Visage Sport Coffee. Um, I partnered up with them for a little while, and man, it's great stuff. I mean, it just tastes like normal coffee, but it's got a little extra oomph to it for your pre-workout, kind of get you going a little bit more. I really used it a lot. I like to drink like a half cup of coffee right before I start my weight cut. So I used to drink them, especially then too, kind of give me that little boost, get my body warmed up and going. And then obviously before my workouts, I'm not with them anymore or partnered up with them anymore. And I'm not sure, they were kind of at a point where they weren't sure if they were going to be able to continue or not. So just with the company, and I'm not sure if they're still out there, but if they are, definitely check them out. It's great stuff.
Heck yeah. So I was looking about inspiration. I know that you had excelled in sports, especially football, when you were younger, and when you had started getting into MMA, I recall you had mentioned The Ultimate Fighter One as an inspiration. But I was wondering if there was any specific fighters or specific fights that inspired you to want to take up MMA.
Yeah. So, my focus was football at the time. The dream was play high school football, go to get a call, full ride to college, go play in the NFL. And like you mentioned, I did see MMA, the UFC on TV, um, my junior year of high school, and I kind of fell in love with it. But it was from that moment, it's like Chuck Liddell. I was a huge Chuck Liddell fan. It was in that era, he was just that kind of sprawl and brawl, knocking people out. He had a wrestling background, didn't really use it, just decided to use his hands and just use defensive wrestling. So I was a huge Chuck Liddell fan, and I always kind of mimicked that like kind of style. Like I was never a wrestler and stuff like that, so it was like, oh, I'm gonna sprawl on these wrestlers and then just like let the hands fly and knock some people out kind of thing. And I was more naturally a stand-up fighter, so I gained inspiration from that. And there's plenty of fighters along the way. Obviously, Forrest Griffin, the Stephen Bonner fight, watching that was absolutely epic. Um, and so early on, I didn't really have a gym or anything. It was just me and my brothers who would, run techniques and try to mimic stuff from fights, and having an underground fight club and mixing everybody in and partnering up weight classes and stuff. So, uh, just getting the groove of it. But I've definitely gained a lot of inspiration and looked up to a lot of people uh, growing up and watching the all of fighting. Like even recently, Robbie Lawler, Hall of Famer, just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. Shout out to him. He's definitely one of the guys that I looked at growing up as like, I want to fight like that. I want to go in there and just let it all hang out, take people's heads off.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's crazy how, I know that you had met, I believe if you were speaking with Ariel back in the day, you had met Robbie Lawler a long time ago and then
Yeah.
eventually had ended up fighting him. That's a pretty crazy story.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it was wild. Honestly, kind of a dream come true, for me, just because, you know, obviously it plays back. I was a fan, meeting him and stuff like that, and being back in that situation on International Fight Week is when I met him, and then fighting International Fight Week against him, and more so knowing the kind of fighter he is. Like I could say for sure, the only time I thought someone would never shoot a takedown on me and just try to take my head off the whole time was Robbie Lawler, and I was confident saying that, and I knew that's the kind of style he would bring it. So yeah, it's just a fight like the kind of matchup I've always wanted, and I'm
yeah,
glad
yeah.
it panned out.
Yeah, that was a certainly an incredible display. It was a great fight.
Yeah.
Um, but then looking back, when we were talking about inspirations, what role did the Stump Factory play in your aspirations to be a fighter?
Oh yeah. So when I started MMA, was actually in Minnesota. I was in Arizona and California a little bit, and kind of bouncing around. Couldn't find a gym. Didn't find a gym. Was busy working. I had kids early, so I had my son and stuff. So it was just kind of balancing life. And then I ended up moving to Minnesota. And when I actually started, I found a gym there in the local town. It was called the Stomp Factory, and there was just a bunch of local fighters there. And started training there. That's where I first started. Just a bunch of few rough and tough, you know, Minnesota boys getting after it, just putting in the work every day, day in, day out, in one of the guys' garages, and then sometimes in a wrestling room. And, I trained with them 6 months before I had my first amateur fight. After that, I went pro. So, but I was with them for a long time, and, they definitely, you know, taught me the basics, helped me, kind of build me up, get me started, get me going on this. I feel like I've kind of always been a natural striker, so was able to kind of, I think, help out a little bit in that area as well. But definitely they were a big part of my career, and I thank them for helping me get started. I still talk to a lot of those guys who I train with out there, and you know I don't think most of them don't fight anymore, but the next generation is there, getting into it. But yeah, they were a big part. It was good times and a great part of the journey that I'll remember forever.
Heck yeah, that's awesome, man. So my next question was, when did you realize that you could make a career out of the sport? Was it when so the way that you described that you fell in love with it, was that when you knew you wanted it to be a career, or did that realization come along when you started to notice success early in your career?
So honestly, I didn't. I mean, from the moment it's like I want to do this, like this is what I'm gonna pursue. I don't really want to pursue football anymore. Um, I finished out my senior year and I knew I wasn't going to continue. I had rides to colleges and stuff and decided to turn them down to pursue MMA. So I knew I was going to continue to pursue it. I didn't have any idea of the pay. I didn't even really, the focus honestly at that time wasn't even really getting to the UFC. It was just doing it. Um, and so I'd say, well, after my first amateur fight, I won, or first and only, I won. And the guys that I was training with at the time were like, dude, you should go pro your next fight. You can make, money off of this. And I was like, what? Like I can make some money doing this. Like, how the hell do I go pro? And they're like, well, you can go pro in your next fight. And I was like, well, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. I can make some money doing this. Hell yeah, I'm going to do that. And I wouldn't say it was till like later on in my career that I realized like, okay, if I can really make this something and try to get to the UFC, like, you start realizing like, okay, when you figure out like, oh, the next step is the UFC and stuff, like I had two losses, I think after that. I had ended up having two losses before I got to the UFC. And after my second loss, I almost stopped fighting. I told my wife, if I lose one more, I'll hang them up, and get a real job to support us and support our kids and our family and everything. So um, it was like from that point on, it was kind of like, okay, well, I really need to put in more work and do more. The next step is UFC. I can't afford to lose another one because at that time there wasn't a bunch of opportunities. So it was like, if you lose one, it was almost like it puts you 5 fights back for an opportunity, uh, you know, to, plus winning fights. So it's like it was harder to get to that point. So it's like I can't lose another one, or I'm gonna be freaking even farther back than I'll never get to the UFC. So it was kind of at that point I realized like, okay, I can make a living at this if I can get there, and I need to get there. So I just continue working. It's a long story behind it, but for sure it's it was a process, and thankfully I was able to make it.
Yeah, I mean we've got some classics. I'm happy you were able to make it too. Of course, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, and after a 10-year career with the UFC, what could you say about your experience with the promotion?
It It was pretty good, I guess. It was good. I'm just kind of one of those guys who just wants to fight. So it wasn't very hard, I guess. It wasn't much of a struggle. I guess I was probably more frustrated at times than they were because, I wanted to fight and there was matchups that, you know, I wanted and weren't playing out, or even like matchups that I made happen. Like the guy talked to the guy that he was asking for, I was asking for it, and they just didn't come to fruition. And a bummer on those. So, but it was pretty good. I think they did. It was fun. It was great promotion. Definitely the people behind the scenes are huge shout out to them. All the people working behind the scenes for the UFC. Um, that you don't really see or hear about. They're awesome. A lot of great people who help you out in hard times. During fight week and all that, do things to go above and beyond. So that was really special. I think the people, especially the people lower that you don't really see a lot of, do a lot for you, and so that was cool. It's definitely a lot better than a local promotion. I tell you that. It's definitely high level and nice to be there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad I'm glad your experience was overall positive there. Of course, it's the most, it's the biggest promotion in the world. And during that career, you had sustained some very serious injuries. I know you had that major injury in the abdominal area, the back surgery, over the course of your career. And I was just kind of wondering, where your physical, mental health is at, and do you picture yourself continuing to fight professionally? Obviously, you kind of already answered that earlier in the interview. But how is the physical health and mental health and mindset for the fight game?
Yeah, obviously I still want to continue. I'm still very passionate about it. Really, really excited about getting back. Like I said, I had some surgeries right after my last fight. Um, Took care of some things, and in a better place now. But it's definitely the mindset was just taking care of myself, getting myself healthy. Because when I do come back, I don't want to come back and rush it and give like a sorry performance. I want to come back and be better than I've ever been. So, I've been really I've honestly been pretty quiet on social media. Haven't said much. Haven't really been on it. Haven't been posting. I do a podcast, Fight Inside podcast. I'm a co-host, and so that's pretty much a majority of my posts, and pretty much that all goes out right there. Occasionally, I'll be, you know, I don't even know if it's still called a tweet or whatever, but putting a message out on X about some fights or something. Um, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on everything. Fights out there, potential fights that I want to have, fights that really excite me. I'm open to definitely doing MMA. It would be fun to mix it up and do more of a striking fight first before returning to MMA. But we'll see what happens, and see who where I land. It's who's interested. I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised I haven't got more interest um, off the bat. Once my release was announced, I feel like I'm a dangerous, fun, entertaining striker. Even in MMA, I feel like I'm a threat to a lot of people. So the fact that there's kind of been a delay of people reaching out and stuff like that, I'm kind of shocked, and it's shame on them because they're missing out on some of the best shit out there.
Yeah, no, me and the boys over at Combat Sports Today have certainly been talking about where you could potentially land. Speaking of a newer striking based promotion, did you end up tuning into Mike Perry's first Dirty Boxing event?
I actually did. I did tune in. Yeah, yeah. It was interesting. I feel like I messaged a guy, not Mike Perry, but I messaged a guy. I believe he's Mike Perry's manager. He was my manager at one time, but I messaged him in the middle of it, and I said, "Man, they need someone who knows how to freaking really throw some hands and mix in elbows, because that's like I could do that all damn day. I don't think there's few people out there that can do it better than me, who've shown it. I know there's some Thai guys that are pretty good, but a lot of that includes kicks, but just boxing and mixing in elbows, like that's definitely my world. But I watched it. It was a good event. They had some good fights, some not good fights,
Yeah.
but it comes. It's their first real show. Congrats to Mike Perry, but I'll beat your ass. you know, in fucking dirty boxing and wherever the hell you want to go for facts and just letting you know, I'd love that fight. It's a fight I've been after for a long time. Whether he thinks he's the Conor McGregor of whatever fucking promotion, it doesn't matter. I'll go in there and I'll fucking stand with you. Don't, I'll be right in your face the whole time. So if you're ever interested, you fucking give me a call.
Hey, there's a beautiful promo right there, and that goes right into my next question. As a certified fan favorite, I was going to ask if you had any interest in BKFC or potentially Mike Perry's Dirty Boxing, and it sounds like that might be there.
Yeah, whatever it is, I do have some interest. I think bare knuckle intrigues me. Who I've been in plenty of street fights, and I do feel like people coming in think it's one thing and it ends up being different. I think I have my sights set pretty much on. I can adapt well into it, and I feel like it matches my style very well too. So, yeah, like I said, anybody can get it. Congratulations to Mike Perry on Dirty Boxing, but also too, yeah, you can get it too and wherever you want. So it doesn't matter what promotion it is. Honestly, it's whatever gives me the most exciting fights. Obviously, I want to get paid for my time as well. I think I deserve that too. A lot of people have asked me like doing local shows and building my way back to the UFC. And, if the UFC wants to pick me up after some fights, again, okay. But I'm also not going to fight for pennies on the dollar when I'm a household name who brings a lot of attention and a lot of great fights. So I know my worth, and I definitely think I deserve, the right money and the right fights.
Right, yeah, that's awesome to hear. Definitely knowing your worth is massive. And I know obviously you spent a lot of time in your career with MMA Lab. So since you've had a couple moves since then, I know you had been training with Scott Holtzman, I believe. And where have you been training more as of late?
Yeah, so I trained at the MMA Lab for quite a while. I was at Jimmo for a long while in North Carolina. Now I'm currently training at American Top Team Asheville with the guys up there, and that's where I spend a majority of my time right now, working with them. Help right now. They got two guys getting ready for fights, so I'm kind of helping them getting ready for their fights as well, and working myself, getting back in shape and getting back to where I need to be. But a
Nice.
great group of guys up there, so.
Hell yeah, I'm glad to hear it. So I got a couple fun questions too. Just a couple good little questions. First one is, do you have any current favorite boxers or martial artists that you like to watch at the moment?
Honestly, not off the top of my head. To definitely, I feel like I watch a lot of fights. There is guys that stand out, but I honestly just can't think of the names right now. Just with a lot going on, but there's so many guys out there, especially a lot of up and coming guys, for sure. You know, so it's hard to land some names. Mario Batista is always fun to watch. He's an MMA Lab guy. Kyler Phillips, McGee, or Maniac McGee. So they're always fun guys to watch. Obviously, all Lab guys, but there's a lot of up and coming guys who are fun to watch. There's this one striker who he's fairly new at 185. God, I can't think of his name, but he's really fun to watch. I'll have to find out his name. I know he's newer to the UFC, so.
Okay, well, I see. I kind of had a feeling, you got a lot going on, so sometimes it's not always on the top of the mind.
Yeah.
I know you were streaming video games for a little while. Are you still doing that? And if so, what games are you liking to play right now?
Yeah, sadly no. I was mainly doing it because I was traveling from Tennessee to North Carolina, and I'd be in North Carolina all week. So it was like I would streaming, playing games or whatever in the middle of training sessions and at night, after training sessions. So it was just a way of like, kind of getting away from it. Also, I played games with my kids, so I even on stream I played like some Roblox with my kids and stuff. Um, and mixing it in just to have some downtime to play with some family members and stuff like that too, and friends. Uh, but I haven't lately, like I said, since we moved, it's been a lot about like rebuilding and getting things going. So a lot of projects, a lot of things to do on the side. Don't really have the time to really settle down and watch or play a game. It's more so like now my time's like I'm settling down and watching a movie with the family, or something like that's really where my game time is going now, is to pretty much something I watch a movie or a show with my wife and or the kids, and So that's really where my focus is at now. But there's definitely some games out there that I would like to play. Obviously, I played Call of Duty Warzone back in the day and always streamed that. So, I've heard up and down things about where that's going. But the new Assassin's Creed, with the samurais and stuff, that looks pretty cool. Um, they had GTA 6 is supposed to be coming out, so it's like, well, that looks pretty cool. So see where that lands. But yeah, right now I don't really have time. Actually, the only game I play, and the only reason I play it is because my kids play it, and they got me into it. And so, uh, sometimes when we're watching a movie or something, they'll want to play in the middle or something like that, or we'll sit down for a second and play. But it's Brawl Stars, and that's on your phone. So
Yeah.
we'll just jump on the phone, and they'll get on the tablets and stuff, and we'll play some Brawl Stars.
Hey, that's awesome. You got any predictions for the Raiders this season?
Uh, no, but I hope they do a lot better. Honestly, man, I feel so. The Raiders are my team. I just don't follow any other sport really, like really ever. So like I say, my team's the Raiders. I like to watch when I can, which is not often. I don't really watch football ever, any other sport. The only sport I really watch is fighting. So uh, yeah, but I hope they do a lot better. I hope I can really watch a game and see them kind of bounce back from the terrible years they've been having.
Yeah, 100%. They got Max Crosby, so I'll root for him for you as well.
Yeah.
I know you got a birthday coming up. You got any big plans to celebrate with the family?
Probably, yeah. I mean, maybe just hang out at home. Really, probably just my wife will cook me up some nice meals and my cake for sure. Probably doing like a lemon blueberry cake, but I guess it's gonna depend where fights land and things like that. But uh, she makes a freaking mean lemon blueberry cake, so uh, I pretty much ask for that every year and just really just hang out, spend time with them, just enjoy the day. Um, maybe grill some steaks or something, and you know, cuddle up on the couch, watch a movie. That's a great day to me.
Hell yeah, that is a good day. It's a great day. And then finally, I have just a couple left. In a perfect world, how does 2025 play out for Bryan Barberena? Life goals, moving forward.
Yeah, I get signed up or picked up by one of these promotions and get matched up with an awesome banger of a fight for me and the fans to enjoy. Um, you know, maybe land 1, 2 fights this year, hopefully two. I like to stay active, especially after coming back after a while off because of injuries and recovering. But I like to stay active, so hopefully 2 fights this year. Win them, put on bangers of fight, and really put everybody on notice, and just be in a better place, ready. Be the best me, best version of myself, whether it be bare knuckle, karate combat, boxing, dirty boxing, um, MMA. I mean, I'm open for it all, and I'm ready to serve out some beating. So I'm looking forward to the year coming, and just I wish health and wellness for my family. I hope we can all are good and doing well, and you know just looking forward to a great year ahead, and hopefully God blesses us with some amazing things, and I know He will.
Hey, that's awesome to hear. I'm glad to hear it. And before we head out, do you have a message for the fans?
Yeah, sure. Thank you everybody for the continuous support. I know I'm not active on social media like all these cats these days, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out and following along. And check out the Fight Inside podcast where I co-host. It's a great podcast, and we put on have some great interviews, talk about a bunch of stuff. So tune into that. I'm like I said, I'm new on Millions, so I'll be doing an announcing video for that, and they'll hopefully have some merch up on there soon. So go check me out on that. And just I really appreciate everybody, and I look forward to continue to put on great fights for you guys moving forward for the rest of 2025 and foreseeing future. So just appreciate the love and support. thank you to my amazing wife and my amazing kids, and love them all. And honestly, without them, without my wife, I wouldn't have ever made it to the UFC. I would never be the man I am today. So, um, great things coming forward.
Hey, beautifully said. And I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy
Yeah.
guy. I really appreciate you coming and joining us at Combat Sports today. Big thank you from us. And we're very excited for the future for Bryan Bam Bam Barberena as well.
Oh, thanks, Michael. I appreciate you having me on. And one more thing, all these promotions out there, Karate Combat, Bare Knuckle, like, holler at your boy if you want some badass action.
Let's get it.